Hey guys! I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Boom Shakha and I welcome you to my channel. I'm so grateful as always that you guys are listening, subscribing, and commenting on my channel. I appreciate the support. In this video, I wanted to speak to you guys about panicking. And usually when something happens in our life, anything happens in our life, our first instinct as a human being, as a person in this world, is to panic, right? So, perhaps your kid hasn't been picked up from school by your husband, which is a random example. Or perhaps you're supposed to be catching a flight, but the taxi that was supposed to pick you up is lost and can't find you. This happens to me a lot in Thailand. Or perhaps you're supposed to be going to meet someone, but your subway is stalled or your metro station, your metro is stalled because of some person jumping on the tracks, which happens a lot in Toronto. I'm sure in other subway systems as well. So, random things like that. And our first instinct, whenever anything happens, whenever anything, I guess, negative happens, if you put the label negative on it, if anything negative happens, our first instinct obviously is to jump into panic mode, right? We're instantaneously in our heads, we're like, oh my God. And we start thinking about all the different scenarios. What are we going to do? This is all the plan A, plan B, plan C. This is what I can do. I can walk to the station, or I can walk to the place where I'm supposed to meet this person, or perhaps I can cancel this Grab and call another one, or blah, 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 right? There's a lot of stuff going on in our heads in that particular moment of time. I've actually noticed for myself, and I don't know if it's because of the fact that I meditate every day, or I've been meditating for so long, or perhaps it's the fact that I observe my mind kind of going into these crazy loops and stop itself from doing that, going into that mad loop. But whatever the reason might be, I've noticed that the main thing I've started doing recently, well, perhaps like a year, I guess, is that whenever I go into these panic modes, and it happens a lot, right? This is life. Like, you go into life and you know that it's not going to be a smooth ride. You know that it's going to be a madhouse where things happen left, right, and center. And you just have to deal with it, right? That's what being human is all about. It's not about sitting in a corner and having an easy life. That's why we don't tell, in like meditation or Buddhism or all these religions, don't tell you to go into a cave and hide from real world issues, but to be in the real world and still be able to maintain your calm. And so I've noticed what I've started doing is, and what I wanted to share with you guys, is that I've started taking a step back from that panic, right? And so of course things still do happen in my life that are crazy and mad and cool. And I just look at it and I think to myself, okay, witness, observer. I'm going to witness this happening. I'm going to stand back and I'm going to observe this mad house happening. So, if people are panicking around me, I'll just take a step back and I'll look at them as a witness. I'll look at myself as a witness. I'll notice myself panicking as well. My head's going all over the place. I'm thinking, oh my God, I have to do this, la, 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 la. And I'll stop myself and I'll just step back and I'll think to myself, all right, cool. So something is happening that requires perhaps a little bit of action, perhaps not. I don't know yet. But what I've noticed in a lot of these cases is that if I just step back, take a deep breath, you should do that right now actually, take a deep breath and then just step back and just let things run their course. That's basically the essence of this video. Let things run their course. I've found 99% of the time, 99% of the time, if I just step back and let things run their course, they automatically, they actually just turn out perfectly fine. They turn out perfectly fine 99% of the time if I just step back and let things run their course. Now, of course, because we're human beings and because I am a type A personality and I have control issues and I want to be organized and I don't want to let go, I have trust issues, all that stuff, I don't want to do that. I don't want to just let go to the universe and let the universe take care of things. I want to control, I want to niggle, I want to be in it, and I just want to make things happen. But as I said, I've been noticing that this strategy of just being a witness and stepping back and letting things run their course has been magnificent for me, because then what I'm not going into panic mode and doing all this stuff and perhaps interfering with the course of action or the course of things taking place on their own. But what happens with a lot of us is that when we start doing things, we actually start interfering with the normal course of action, right? We're kind of adding things into the mix, perhaps, which are not actually useful, right? And perhaps we're actually ruining the path and making it harder for us rather than making it easier, right? A lot of times I notice that, for example, I'll give you a quick example. So I have a condo back home in Toronto, and I own a condo, and I rent it out, obviously, for rental income. And my tenants occasionally will message me with things like, oh, I want this, I want that, oh, this is not working, la la la, which is fine. This is what life is. And so sometimes I'll wake up in the morning, I'll had a great sleep, and I'm all relaxed, and I feel like I'm in my body, and I feel grounded, and I'll see a message from them panicking that something isn't working. Oh my God, the kitchen's flooded, or oh my God, the washing machine isn't working, right? And as soon as I see these messages, in the past, I would have been like, oh my God, the world is falling apart. What am I going to do? I'm so far away from them. How am I going to take care of this? And panic, right? Now what I've started doing is I've started taking a step back. I'm like, all right, cool. So something's not working. All right, great. What are we going to do about it? Nothing. And that's what I've tried doing, at least for the first 10, 15, 20, half an hour, like just the first few minutes. I'll just take a step back and I won't do anything. I won't panic in my head, and I won't panic outwardly either. I won't be like going around researching, going here, going there, calling people, doing all that stuff. I'll just take a step back and I'll just relax for a little bit. And that moment of relaxation where you're like, when you're supposed to be panicking, but you're relaxing, it creates this brain chemistry change in your, like some kind of chemical reaction where you're able to just all of a sudden observe the universe as if it is, in all of its essence. And eventually I notice, at least for me, two things happen. Either one or two things happen. So either I kind of get an epiphany where I'm like, oh, right, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. All right. So taking a step back and relaxing and letting things happen, all of a sudden I'll have this epiphany. I'll be like, all right, cool. This is the best step to take in this scenario. And then I'll go take that step, right? So in that silence, in that calm, the real action that I'm supposed to take, not the panic action, but the real action that's actually going to help the situation comes up for me, right? Or what will happen is that the situation will automatically resolve itself. Right? Because a lot of people are messaging you with panic, not because the situation actually requires it, but because we're tuned to panic in any situation. We're actually taught to do that. Panic first, ask questions later. That's, I think, the strategy of most people. And so most people will panic first, send you messages about all this stuff that's going wrong in their life or things that they need help with. And then a second later, 20 minutes later, whatever, they'll message you back saying, oh, you know what, I was just going through a hard or a tough time, or something happened, everything's fine now, no need to worry. Okay? And so the second thing sometimes happens as well. And in this scenario, 20 minutes later, while I was just sitting there kind of reflecting on what maybe I should do or what's going on and just chilling out, relaxing myself, not going into panic mode, she messaged me back saying, oh, it's turned back on again. The washing machine is turned back on again. Perhaps I just wiggled the plug a little bit and I turned it off and on again, and it was fine now. All right. And so she's like, all right, I'll just watch it for a bit and see if it stops working again, then I'll message you again. But for now, everything is fine. Right. And so it automatically resolved itself. And it's interesting because this happens to me quite often. Now that I live in this world, I don't know if this is a world that I've created through my mind, or if it's because I believe that things are just going to automatically resolve itself. I'm actually making it happen. I don't know what it is, but now for me, a lot of times when other people are just like, oh my God, let's panic, I'm just like, I don't know if it's time to panic yet. Let's just step back and relax and let things happen as they do. Right? For another example I would give is that one time I was sitting there and a flight was delayed. Right? And it happens often, obviously. Flights get delayed. But I had to catch another flight right after, right? And so I was like, oh, when am I going to make that next flight? I don't know. And so I was like, all right, let's not panic about it. Let's not go online and start searching for other flights or like messaging people or all of that stuff. Let's just relax. Everything's fine. And 20 minutes later, the flight that was supposed to be delayed, this flight is still delayed. I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay. And I was like, let me check what's happening with the next flight that I'm supposed to take, right? And so I checked that next flight. And interestingly enough, it was delayed exactly the same amount as my first flight, which meant that even if this first flight was delayed, I would still catch the next flight easily enough, right? And so again, that moment of panic, I did not need it. I didn't actually really need it. And in a lot of cases, you guys, if you're able to step back and relax yourself and not go into panic mode, you'll notice that either one of two things will happen. First of all, either you'll get the right solution to the problem and you'll be able to resolve it easily, or that situation will automatically resolve itself. Because a lot of times, if you just give it time, things will automatically resolve themselves. And this happens to me quite often. And I'm not saying this from a perspective of, oh, life is easy and roses and butterflies and things like that. I'm not saying that. That's not the impression I want to give you guys. Because life is suffering, and that's what it is supposed to be about, right? Life is supposed to be a series of suffering that is put into our path in order for us to grow, learn, become better, etc. So that is supposed to be life. Life is not supposed to be roses and garlands. It's supposed to be suffering. But it is how you deal with the suffering that comes at you, right? I mean, all of this stuff is going to come at everyone. Everyone is dealing with a lot of shit in their life. That's just normal, right? It's all normal. That's what life is about. It's not supposed to be, you're not supposed to be here and having an easy life. That would be actually quite boring, I would imagine. Because then what is the point? Are you learning? Are you growing? No. If we had an easy life, then you would just be chilling out and doing nothing. But it's these circumstances that kind of push us and trigger us and make us think and make us reflect or make us suffer. These are the situations that really make us grow and expand as a human being, right? So this is normal. But again, as I said, how do you deal with these normal suffering situations? I think that's the real key to the awakening process, or the real key to life, at least in my opinion. Okay. All right. I hope this makes sense to you guys. I hope I was able to explain myself to you, the strategy of stepping back and being a witness and not panicking. Really, it's one of the things that has really changed my life, and I wanted to share with you guys, even if it seems a bit abstract and a bit crazy. All right, I hope this makes sense. If you guys have any questions at all, please message me anytime, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.